Hi everybody, I feel so blessed to be part of this incredible community that you've all created. As a gift for those of you that are stuck at home under this current health scare with the coronavirus, we're giving away the rather wonderful Mr. Tony Franklin's bass recording course. Tony is a lovely guy. He recorded it here at the studio. He came in with his very humble setup and produced and played some incredible bass lines on some tracks. So you're going to get to download all of those multi-tracks and learn along with Tony as he plays bass. Tony, as you know, or you may not know, was the bass player for The Firm, which is Jimmy Page's band from Led Zeppelin, with Paul Rodgers from Free and Bad Company on vocals. So this is a wonderful course, an amazing opportunity to learn along with one of the greatest fretless bass players of all time and one of the nicest guys in the whole world. Tony is a sweetheart as well as being an incredible player. So please stay happy and healthy and leave a whole bunch of questions and comments below. Thank you ever so much for being so supportive, and we wish you all the best.
Okay, so I'm sitting down here in front of the computer and I have not heard the song yet. I get myself situated and look, here's my go-to rig 90% of the time, which is a Line 6 Pod Pro. And I have my default setting, and look, I call it the Firm Bass Clean because that's the Firm fretless that I typically use. And it's the clean, but there are parameters that I can adjust as I'm going along, but I actually like to make adjustments from the bass. I'm not using any compression at any stage. I'm not a fan of compression. We can always put some of that on afterwards, but yeah, it's a direct out and an amp simulation out as well, direct. So it's pretty simple, really, pretty simple setup. But even before I got here, even before I heard the song or set up for any of this, I checked to make sure that my bass was in good working order. And I do have the fretless. I do the same thing as well. I have that here as well. Just happened to pick up the fretted because that was closest. So, but what did I do? I put on a fresh set of strings. Now, I don't always do that for recording sessions, because sometimes an older set of strings is good. But this case, I did need it, so I put on a fresh set of strings. And every time I put on a set of strings, I'll check the intonation. What's the intonation? It's making sure that the bass is in tune with itself. At the end of the day, it needs to be kind of in the ballpark, as long as I find myself within that range there. And a lot of it will depend where you play it as well, because if you finger it up that way, push it towards the fret, look, it goes a little flat there. If I go down a little bit, it'll go way sharp. So there's a lot of variables. So anyway, I've gone through and made sure that every string is intonated and in tune with itself. That's basic 101s. Because we can play the greatest take in the world, and the bass on the open strings can be perfectly in tune, but if it's not in tune when you go up here or up here, then you're going to be recutting the bass, aren't you? So, just a good basic sound. And I don't like to rely on a lot of tweaking of the amp, to be honest. If I'm going to be playing something that's very gentle, then I'll play it lightly. Lightly is good in the studio. Live and studio are two different environments for me playing bass. Live, I tend to be a little bit more aggressive, and in the studio, I tend to be a little bit more sensitive. Playing it a little with a lighter touch, because you get a fatter tone when you play it lightly. There's two positions that I like to play in, and over here is what I call the Jameson position. It's a very fat, warm sound. Over here is what I call the Jacko position. You can play a little harder there because there's a little bit more tension on the strings and you get a little bit more punch. And also I like to play with the pick, and I don't like seeing all these memes and cartoons on the internet recently about, my favorite bass player is no longer my favorite bass player because he used a pick. I'm like, come on, guys. The pick is a good thing. It gives us a lot more colors to the palette. So I love the pick, and it gives us a little bit more aggression and more colors. Without changing a thing here, we can go from this to this without changing a thing. So you got a lot of scope there by using just what's here. And so I'm kind of setting this up because I will listen to this track and figure out what is the best approach for it, using all these different colors, all these different positions and fingering styles and everything. Because to me, getting the right sound and the right feel from here first is half the battle, because you got to make sure then the track will play itself to a degree. You got to also listen and play the right notes, of course, but if you got the right sound, it makes it a lot easier. It's like having the right monitor mix when you're singing or performing. You got to have the right thing, be hearing the right things. And if you're hearing the right things back from the bass, then you're going to be able to just let the song flow a lot more easily. So I have not listened to the song before, and there's a couple of ways that I approach sessions. And it depends how long I have. Sometimes if there's a quick session, I will not do a chart. I'll go section by section and play that section, and then go on to the next section that appears in the song, and I will play that section and get all the choruses in the song. There are pros and cons to that, which I will get into, and then I will sometimes chart it out from start to finish, and I think I'm going to do that with this one. What I'll do is I'll take an overview and listen to the song and just kind of, get the vibe of it all and see what the overall big picture is. And, cause that will, sometimes I'll even start on the fretted or the fretless and it's like, oh, that's cool. This section needs a fretted bass. It's okay to do that. You can do it in the studio. Not so practical for live, of course, but, so let's check this out. Let's see what this song's all about. Like a 60s kind of 70s vibe from this. There's guide vocals in there. I like those back. I like to have those in so that I can be aware of the vocals, because the vocals are the most important thing of the song. To play on songs that are like the final thing. We might get them in various stages of completion. Sometimes may have vocals, no vocals. I was going to say sometimes there's no drums, and there they are. So that will affect also where I'm going to start playing. Okay. So I'm seeing on the little further in on the song here, there's a bridge section, so I'm just going to go forward and check that out. Okay, cool. I like it. Cool vibe on that. I'm gonna a song like this, I could easily see it being fretted or fretless, actually. So it's one of those things I may even do a couple of takes and give them choices. It really depends on the circumstance, because if I'm doing this by myself, which quite often is the case, I'll be just sitting by myself and just allowed to make the decisions, be allowed to make those decisions by myself. But if I'm doing it and there's a producer or the artist around, then they may have definite opinions about it. So, sometimes you have to just jump in and make decisions. And I do like to give options as well. So, what to do with this one? I'm going to start making a chart. Now, I will go into different details with this, because sometimes not everybody reads. And so making a chart can be something that is not comfortable for them. So I sometimes don't do a chart. I sometimes go section by section and figure out what they're playing and play to that. So, but I am going to do a chart this time because there's a nice flow to this. One of the advantages of having a chart is that it's like a guide map. You can see what's coming up next, because there's nothing worse than when you're in a great take and everything's flowing well, and then it's like, it's great, what's next? It's gone, and you missed it, and you break up that flow. So it's nice to have that chart. I'm very fortunate, because most of the time I don't have to say, okay, what's that note? If I know what key it's in, and this just comes from years of doing it, I can usually write out a chart. I'll write it pretty quickly, because I don't like to spend long doing a chart, to be honest. So I've developed my own little system. It's just plain paper. So I know that the first note of the song is a C. And at this point, that's all I need to know. If there are notes where it gets a little squirrely, then I will refer to the bass. But I've just got used to hearing what the notes are, and you can train yourself with that. You can like listen to the intervals. I mean, I'm sure you can all hear it's like the scale. Ba 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 ba. So if I hear bum ba bum bum, I know that next note's an E. Bum bum bum. Or if it goes bum ba bum bum ba bum, I know that's a C to a G. Ba 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 bum. I've just got used to doing it, and you can train yourself, and it's good for charting. It's good for hearing when you're playing and jamming with somebody, because you get to know what those notes are. And it's just one of those things you do enough times, and it just you kind of get used to it. So let's see what we got going on here. I like to try to write the chart as it's going along, which I find fun and challenging and slightly nuts, to be perfectly honest, but that's okay. Here we go. Oh, didn't go. Now it's going. Okay, here we go. That's the same, isn't it? Now, did I... 3, 4, 1. Okay, so, see, it's the same thing. It depends how you count it. Now, I'm counting this. Let me just go through what I just did right there, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 2. Over the B, A minor. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 means repeat the last 4 bars right there. 4 with a squiggle underneath. Here we go. Same thing. Verse. Same thing. That's an A, F, C, D, F, G, A. think that's right. It was going pretty fast there, but so I'm going to go back and make sure that I got everything. So we have the verse right there, which is there. See, everything is pre-marked out on we have the markers on the Pro Tools here. And you know, it's like I heard that went to an A, the F and the C. You just get used to it. And they've gone in the song before, so it's like, okay, I heard that there, C, A minor. That's how it works in my brain anyway, but it may be a little confusing, but you get used to it. Here's the verse. 2. C is the repeat 4. A minor. F, C, over the B, F, G, A, 1, 2, 3, 4, F, A, G, G. So there's a little interlude, and it looks like it's the same as that. Again. So I'm just looking at again. So, okay. Here's where we save ourselves a lot of time, because I'm seeing that little interlude that was there is actually the same chord sequence as the intro. I fill in the gaps afterwards. So what I'm going to do, instead of writing all that out again, I'm going to do the biggest time saver and put repeat bars right there. Even though that might be a little presumptive at this point, but even if because I don't know if it's going to go all the way back to here and repeat there. But typically that will be the case. Shall we see? So we'll continue now. We had that interlude, which went all the way back. Actually, let me do that. We had that chorus there, and then the drums were starting to kick in. Here's this. Here we go. First, drums in. Drums on the second time. I know my writing is kind of like Egyptian hieroglyphics. Yeah, I can understand it. Okay, good. Ooh, no drums there. Oh, no break. A minor. Okay, cool. So that did go all the way through to there. Then there was a little bit of an interlude right there. The C and then the B. And then we're having what's on here is called the bridge. So, got that little interlude there, the C and the B. So it went down to a B flat there. And if you just listen, it goes boom, boom, boom. So it's like the chromatic rundown. So I know that that's a B flat right there. F, C. Same thing. That one kind of took me by surprise there. Let's see what that one is. I think that might be an E flat. But you know, see, my system is not completely infallible. Boom, boom, boom. No, check with the bass on that. I think it's an E flat. Hold tight. It was, yeah, it was an E flat. So there we go. sheet. You see, now I'm in a little bit of trouble here. I'm in a little bit of trouble because it got a little deeper there with the changes. Aha, that sounds like it might have been, I'm going to have to go back here. That's an F. E flat. F. C. Okay. I believe that's right. And look, I'm getting I've confused myself here with all this notes here. I'm going to go back to the bridge again just to make sure. Actually, I think it's here, isn't it? Ooh, I'll sing that. We have F. Back to that C, okay. So the markings here are a solo verse, and then it goes into a chorus again. It could quite possibly go back to the top again, but let's just check that. I'll listen from here, because if it does, then I don't need to keep writing here. I could go right back to the beginning again. Let's have a listen. Solo. Verse, rather. Okay, we're going to do some music theory right here, because I didn't need to go back to all that, do I? What I'm going to do here. The proper terminology for this is the dal segno. Google that. It means basically, in layman's terms, the sign. It's a sign. It's a sign to go back to the sign that comes up here earlier. DS. Dal segno. There's the sign. Look at that for hieroglyphics. And the sign is going to be put right up here. Okay? And it means that I am going to go back from that point. Why couldn't I put a repeat? Because where do you repeat to? Because we've already repeated to there. So the segno, the sign, goes back to that point. And we go all the way through. And then it goes through to there. But once I got to that point, well, where does it go? It goes to a whole new point. So, you've probably heard this phrase before. It goes to the coda. Coda means the ending, just like Led Zeppelin's coda. Coda was like the final statement, wasn't it? So, the coda, when we get to that point, goes to the coda right there. So instead of having to write all that out again, I just did the sign, and then we get to the coda. So where are we on the music here? Let's have a listen. We're somewhere in the chorus. Right there. No? I'm not exactly sure where we are, so we'll go back to the chorus, then we know exactly where we are. Bit of a breakdown there. You see no drums. And drums in. G. A. So I'll do the 4 right there, you see? F. Little hold on there. We got the outro. So, that little outro, I really don't like going onto a new piece of paper when I'm like there. That's why, if I can keep it all on one page so I'm not having to turn in the middle of a session, it's a really, really good thing. So, you know, I should know the intro sequence by now, but sometimes you space, so I'm going to write it out down there, and then it happens twice, 4, and it ends on a nice big C. And there we have instant charts. Now all I have to do is play it. Okay, so let's well, start at the beginning, shall we? Let's fire up this intro. What I'm going to do, and you know, there's a couple of different ways. What I like to do with a song like this is play it from start to finish and not worry about any mistakes along the way. Just play it down, and we can always go back and fix any mistakes. That's the beauty, isn't it, of recording. It's not a live gig. So what do we do before every single take? We check the tuning. Yes, he went a little bit sharp, but here's a little trick. Sometimes it doesn't go sharp because it's magically gone sharp. The air conditioning cools down the strings. So what I like to do, sometimes is just give it a rub down, warm up those strings a little bit, and watch this. Oh, it actually went a little bit flat from that. You see the difference? And now it's creeping up as it warms up a little bit. All perfectly in tune now because I tuned it up before, so sometimes we don't have to go like retuning the thing, because what will happen when we start playing and the strings warm up again is it'll go out of tune, and we shouldn't have overcompensated for that. So on this tune, if I remember rightly, there was a little bit of an intro with no drums or anything. Anyway, you know, I'm not going to overthink it at this point. I'm just gonna play and see how it goes, and we can I got pretty lucky on that one. You know, that's the beauty of the chart right there, because overall I'm really happy with how that went. Oh, how about we press stop? Save a little hard drive. I would actually at this point take a quick break to clear my head. So here we go, we'll have some water. First thing we do before we do a take is to check the tuning. Now look at that, they're all just a little bit sharp. Is that coincidence, or could it be because it's been sitting in the cold air conditioning for a little bit? So what I sometimes like to do, rather than retune everything, is give the strings a little warm up. And we'll check the tuning again. And lo and behold, they're all perfectly in tune. So it's I see that quite a lot. You go inside and you go into the studio and you listen to a take, and then you go back, oh, let's go and do another take, and the bass has gone sharp, and it's like, wow, it was perfectly in tune. So the strings just got cold and metal contracts. So we warm them up a little bit, and we're good to go. So next thing to do is check our levels. Let's make sure. In fact, what I'm going to do is just solo the bass tracks and make sure there's a decent level going to each track here. Okay, so let's just record a little bit of audio in the kind of style that I will be anticipating myself playing here. It's looking good. Let's just have a listen to a little bit of that, shall we? Sounds good. Don't need to keep that. So we are set up and ready to go. Let's see how I did on my chart, shall we? All right. Get a little pre-take nerves, like the little adrenaline running. Sometimes happens, even with me. Like, especially, it's not so bad when you're in your own environment, when you're relaxed and just doing your own thing. But if you're there with everybody else, so what do? I still do this to this day for many, many years. I do a little bit of yoga breathing. Take a little deep breath in, count to 10 or 8, 5, whatever it is, to a count. Hold it for the same count. Exhale to the same count. And do it as many times as you like. You can't overdose on it. There's no side effects other than feeling good, calmed and centered and ready to do a take. So let's do this take, shall we? Here we go. Press stop, and what's the next most important thing to do after that? Command S. Save. Yes. Now, there are a few little mistakes in that. You can probably tell by my grimaces along the way, even though it's not that big of a deal. Because overall, we're going for the overall feel, the overall flow here, which was good. There was some nice little moments in there, some nice little kind of movements. And what I'm doing is trying to listen to everything that's going on. Of course, the drums. If I'm going to do another take, I might even bring the drums up a little bit so I can really hear them. But I'm especially listening to the vocal because that's the most important thing. It doesn't matter what any other instrument's doing as far as I'm concerned, because the vocal leads the song. And really, the bass is another lead instrument. So if the bass starts clashing and competing with the bass, with the vocals rather, then it can get really, really ugly. And so sometimes the bass has to play it really, really simple. I like to mute the string. I like it because the bass will just keep going and going and going and going. And the song maybe have died. And I know that we can fade it at the end in the mix, but I like to be kind of, I don't know, a little considerate and try to do my own little fade. But so what I do sometimes, I'll just like, it gives it a real nice little kind of fade off. If it's an open string, I'll do it on the other end. And it's just, you can control the amount as well. Or you can do I don't know, it's maybe just one of my little quirky little things that I like to do. Anyway, what I'm going to do now, typically after I've done a take, I would take a little break to give myself a little distance from it. Or if I'm really like focused on this, it's like, that was overall pretty good. I know there's a few little fix-ups. So let's go back and listen to my little fix-ups. So good. A little bit there, timing wise, and I'm being real picky, as we should be. Let's listen to that a bit again. Yeah, just a little rushed on that note there. And so, what I'm actually going to do is take out the vocals at this point, which are, so I'm hearing this little bit. And if I zoom in, you can see on the screen here, it's actually just a little early. And so, yeah, I'm not going to be afraid to just edit that little bit and just nudge it a little bit. I don't mind doing that. In fact, I quite like it. Here we go. I like to... Oh, got to make sure it's on the right mode here so that I'm not going to drag over the whole of the bass track that I just did. Okay, here we go. We'll cut that, grab that. Put that over there. You know, and if there's any engineers out there, they may be cringing at my Pro Tools editing skills. But remember, I'm a bass player first. And what do I rely on? Which should be the most important thing of all that we all rely on, is our ears. And so if it sounds right to me, that's all I'm going to worry about. Okay, so we'll do a little bit and see if my edit flows. Sounds good by itself. There we go. So that bit's fine. We'll move on from there. And what do? Command S, save. Okay. I'm actually going to listen without the vocals too. At this point, check those out. I wanted to go into more of a halftime feel there, so I'm going to grab that little bit and I will play that. What was it? It was just like 2 measures. So I'm going to highlight those. Yeah. So I like to give myself 2 bars, 2 measures of pre-roll and post-roll so that I can lead into it. Just practice that. Actually, it's just the second measure is good. I like how that picks up into the next section. So I'm just going to fix that 1 measure, which will be... Of course, here's the issue that often happens. The more you hear a section, you grow to like it. And it's like, there's something that's kind of cool that the bass moves along in that way when the drum stops. Let me listen to it one more time and then make an executive decision as whether I'm going to keep that. Sometimes it is good. This is the challenge of doing recording sessions by yourself. You have to make these decisions, or you give both options. And at the end of the day, this is a minor detail. It's not a big detail. It won't make or break the song. Because the mandolin part, that keeps moving as well. I tell you what, the beauty of Pro Tools. We can go in. And of course, I could do a whole duplicate playlist and just play that little 1 measure, which at this point, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to play it and I can undo it if need be. What do we do? I'm playing again. Check the tuning. Look, it went sharp. Give it a rub. Just warm it up. Back in tune. It's a lot quicker than tuning, I'll tell you. Anyway, here we go. And what was the part there? It was just an A minor. Yeah, okay, cool. So, let's have a listen. I like that. I like that. So I'm going to make the executive decision right here and now and keep that. And, you know, with any punch, I get pretty particular about it. I like to solo it and make sure it's okay. A little bit of a splurge going in, so I will drag that over a little bit. Make a nice big crossfade there. Let's have a listen to that again. That's a little messy coming out of there. Not liking that so much. What can I do about that? You know what I can do? Well, I can play it again, or I can just drag that over a little bit and see if that helps things. And if it doesn't, then, oh boy, I'll have to replay it. Let's hear how that sounds in the track, because I'm hearing, you can hear it, but you never listen to the bass by itself. So I'm doing that because I want to make sure everything's sounds good to me. Sounds good to me. See, I'm not going to worry too much about little things like that. I'm really not. Onward we go. What did I do there? Something sounded a little strange. See how I'm being pretty picky, I must say, but it's... I see what I did. It's okay by itself. Let's hear. Yeah, it sounds a little strange, so I'm actually going to fix that. Okay, we'll go in and fix that. All right, let's have a listen to that. I like that. Now, if there were, I'm going in and fixing every little thing as I'm going along here. I wouldn't always approach it this way. I'm doing it this way because I have a good feeling about this track that it's worth fixing. Now, if I felt like, overall it wasn't good, I didn't get a good feeling about it, then I would probably, there's a couple of options I would go. I would either completely do a complete other take, or I would fix up bigger sections and wouldn't be getting into the detail of doing all the crossfades immediately. I would come back and do those because I do like to keep a fresh flow going. When you're in the vibe of the song, you got to keep that vibe and that mood happening. But I'm feeling pretty confident that this was a good take. Maybe I should have done something not so good, but I don't want to do that. I want to play every take as well as I can. So anyway, this is how I'm approaching this, but I just want to make you aware of that in case. That was good. A few little clicks there, but those are all within crossfade area. So we'll go and listen to those. There we go, it's nice and smooth. We'll carry on listening from there. We're on the home stretch now. All right. You see, I have been switching between grid mode and slip mode when I'm doing this because, you know, it's just a lot easier for when I'm moving, nudging stuff around, and when I'm honing in on certain sections. Grid mode for those general measure fixes and everything. Okay, so just that first little bit there. I kind of like the second half, so I'm just going to go in for those little bits there. You see, there was a flow with this, so I'm trying to not to disrupt that. I want to keep the flow there as intact as possible, so I'm keeping the punches as short as possible. But you notice I'm playing into them and out of them, meaning that I'm playing along. Why is that important? Maybe it's obvious, but when you're playing along, you are in the same flow, and it keeps it a lot more fluid when that punch comes in. If you just wait until the punch is right there, then it's going to sound like you just kind of jump in, and it can feel very awkward. So it's very important to play along. I didn't press Command Save, did I? Command S. That almost has to be like a reflex. Every time you do an edit, every time you do a take, every time you do anything, save it. I sometimes save even after I've saved, and I know I've saved. It's just one of those things you do so much because you cannot save enough. Okay, what was the punch again? Yep, okay. Quick little thing right there. Okay, let's hear that. Sounds good in the track. Save. Hear it soloed. Little pop, that's easy. So here's where I go into slip mode, of course. I like using, what do they call this? The, what tool is that? The, where it does that thing. Some people don't like that, but it's the magic tool, is it? Whatever it is, the thing that's where you can easily do all the, it gives you access to all the fades and the crossfades and the I forget what that one's called. There we go. It's nice and smooth. It is called the can you move your finger over? The multi-tool, thank you. And you access that, I'm sure you know, through this little bar up here. Got my helpers here, giving me cues and clues. And so, here we go, onwards from here. I want to point out as well also that you'll notice that I like to have a bass track that builds and gets a little bit more interesting as the song goes along. It might sound like an obvious statement, but even within like the first verses, I'm starting off, the intro is starting off high and simple. But then when the first verse came along, I was starting here. And then I went up. Just gives it a little bit more color and variation. And then as it kicked in with the drums, I added a little bit more movement. And it's a simple part, but it's gives it a nice pulse. And then as the song moves along, and now we're getting towards the end, and so there's a lot more, you know, excitement, a lot more happening, and so there's a lot more movement from the bass there. And so, you know, it's a fine line. You just got to be very, very aware of listening to the big picture of the song and the melody and everything that's happening, so you're not getting too far outside. But at the same time, create some movement And remember, the bass is so big and so powerful, and the notes mean a lot. Each note really, really counts. So you can do those runs. Those are like string lines. Those are lines that you could embellish. If you're going to do too much, it would be inappropriate for the song. Only comes from, I was going to say, only comes from doing it a lot, but at the same time, you have to be able to stand back. And I will do this at the end. We don't necessarily all need to do it together, because you'll have the files to be able to do this yourself. To be able to, when it's all done, stand back and see how everything feels in the big picture. Because, you know, all these little fixes and all the individual parts, they're great. But you've got to make sure that there's a flow. And at the end of the day, my job is to support the song. And for most listeners, the bass is going to be invisible. It's only going to stand out if it does something out of place. If it does something that was obviously a wrong note, that's stay in the obvious. We won't let any wrong notes go by, but I mean, that's in a live context. Somebody plays a wrong note. Yeah, that stands out, but usually it's here and gone very, very quickly. But so, you know, musicians sometimes dwell on those. Oh, I played the wrong note, my life's over. No, it's not that. Anyway, I'm getting off on a little bit of a side tangent there. But the point is, you got to make sure that everything really flows, and stand back from the big picture and go for it, but make sure that it doesn't get in the way. If we become visible too much, sorry, bass players, our job is to be invisible most of the time. Hold it down. Make sure that those vocals and the emotion and the singer and those words are heard. We have to leave our egos outside the studio door. Make a solo album if you want to do that stuff, right? Do all this stuff. Yeah, we can do all that. Do all that. But not right here, okay? So yeah, do all that stuff at home. Do all that stuff on your solo album, not on a song like this when you've been called in to lay down an invisible bass. Ooh, I like that, invisible bass. But the thing is, you will be noticed if you're not there too. So you're not truly invisible, because people will feel you. They'll know if you're not there. And the bass's job is to make people dance, right? You got to feel it. It's the heartbeat, it's the pulse. So just remember that. I'm reminded of a story, actually. I learned almost the hard way about overplaying. It's my first professional gig. I was part of a 10-piece dance band. I was 18 years old. It was called Pete's People. Yeah. Pete's People, a 10-piece dance band, played all the latest disco stuff and current pop stuff, as well as the 40s and 50s, 60s dance stuff. And so I was actually on this bass. Yeah, I've had it a long time. And I was getting pretty comfortable with the gig. And what happens when you get comfortable / possibly a little bored? You start getting creative, you start venturing off, you start veering off and having fun. It can be a dangerous thing. And anyway, Pete, the band leader, turned around to me one night and said, hey, listen, if you don't quieten it down a bit, playing-wise, I may have to let you go. And I'm like, ooh. I got the message loud and clear, went straight back to those charts, held it right down. And so that lesson stuck with me. And it's still very tempting, actually, even when you get comfortable with a gig. You got to remember that a song is a song, and it needs to be supported as such. And actually, just a couple of months or weeks, whatever it was, in the same band, the drummer turned around to me and said, and this stung, but it got the message through loud and clear, said, you know, it's not only the drummer's job to keep time. Ooh. Now, people often ask me what it's like playing with different players, drummers. And do you lock in with the kick drum? Do you lock in with the snare? What's your thing? What do you do? Well, one of my favorite bass players is James Jamerson, Funk Brothers, studio cat from Motown days, played on all that classic Motown stuff from the 60s. Those songs for me are all about the song, the tambourine and the bass. And if you listen to the drums, a lot of the time, I mean the drummers, they had their stock fills. It was very, very, I'm going to say repetitive, but it created a signature sound. And the drums were holding it down. Very few fills. But the bass was doing all the syncopation stuff. You get the point, but the drums could be doing that. A lot of the time, the drums and the bass weren't exactly what a lot of bands would say locked in, but gosh, they were tighter than you could imagine a rhythm section being. That was a crazy cool situation for bass, because James Jamerson was one of the most creative pop bass players that's ever been. He set the course for a lot of bass players. Jaco Pastorius and James Jamerson are my two guys, really. And the amount of guys that James Jamerson has influenced, from John Paul Jones to Paul McCartney to John Deacon from Queen, one of my personal favorites, and so many in between, John Entwistle, they've all paid homage to James Jamerson. And so, it's not always a case of what... Because I play with so many different drummers, different styles, from Carmine Appice to Chris Slade to Terry Bozzio to Vinnie Colaiuta, all these different amazing cats, and they're all different, of course they are. It's normal, but one thing that they all have, and this is the most important thing, they all have their own internal sense of meter, of rhythm. So that they are not relying on a click, they're not relying on the rest of the band for their timing, for their meter. They have it within them. And that is where your metronome, where your pulse, where your feel comes from. And that's what I go to. Now, sometimes I'll do a fill that seems almost contradictory to the drums, or I'll play a part that feels like it's contradictory. Sometimes I'll play exactly on with the drums, just whatever feels right. It doesn't matter if it's by the textbook, or scientifically correct or incorrect, or proper or theoretically right or wrong. Does it feel good? That's the most important thing. And so I like to just tune in to that. And what do I listen for with different drummers? I don't listen to any one thing, but I try to feel the pulse, and then I feel my own pulse, and you literally can play with anybody when you do that. The rest of the band, the rest of the instruments, the voice especially, help to dictate what you will play, because they're all part of that. It's an amazing amount of things that a bass player takes in at any one point when he's playing. He or she, sorry. You are taking in a lot of information. You're listening to every single instrument, and you are laying down something that becomes hypnotic, invisible, and a pulse that holds everything and supports everything else. The bass can dictate what the drums play. It can dictate what the rest of the band plays, because the drums can be laying down doing that, and then the bass can do same kind of thing. But then It's all the same thing. You still keep that thing going, but it will change the feel and the flavor of everything. So how do I play with all these different players? I just feel it. Feel their thing, feel my thing. Don't be reliant on their thing. Be reliant on my own pulse. And I've never been one to practice with a metronome. I suppose there's value to that. I don't truly know because I didn't do it, but as I almost learnt the hard way, as I did learn the hard way, it is not only the drummer's job to keep time. It's our job. It's everybody's job in the band. When everybody's doing that, then you end up with a great feel. So I've been very fortunate to play with some of those amazing players. Anyway, all of that goes into what I'm doing right here. I'm kind of putting all those years of experiences and sometimes learning the hard way and trying to think if there were any... No, I was saved from the brink of losing gigs by doing that. But even recently, I had a discussion. I've been out touring with the Kenny Wayne Shepherd band. And, the whole band was starting to get a little busy. And we had a band discussion that Kenny led, and a lot of it came down to the bass it was very, very interesting because the next gig I really kept it simple. I didn't really do too many fills and kept the grooves very, very basic. And I noticed that the drums, the great Chris Slade from Stevie Ray Vaughan's Double Trouble, his parts changed. He simplified it, and everything was just rock solid and real. As Kenny said, it's very calm. And that doesn't mean to say that, it doesn't have fire. No, it has fire. But everything felt very kind of flowing and hypnotic. My job is to put people, and especially the ladies, in a trance. Right? If we can do that, our job is done. Anyway, I was doing a fix-up here, wasn't I? Okay, cool. Did I save? I haven't done that for a while. I'd like to hear what it would sound like, me playing that bit with the bass going up to the high note. I played an F instead of a G right there, so I'm not sure if it's going to work. Let's just give that a try, shall we? Oh, and what I do need to do is to listen to what note comes out of that. Because if I play a high note, then... Okay, so it goes down, so I've got to be anticipating that. Because if I was going to go to there, it would be a simple thing, but if I'm going to go... I'm going to anticipate that slide down. So this sounds natural. Here we go. I think that works. I'm not liking the note that comes after it, though. It sounds a little shaky. Probably because I realized I'd played the wrong note on the previous take. And so, let me check my tuning here. Yeah, it went a little sharp, didn't it? There we go. Why are we not hearing that afterwards, but that's all right. Let me listen to that solo. I'm not liking how that feels coming out of there. I'm going to do that again. Now notice I did not do this, because I was advocating playing along, but this one I want it to be clean, coming into it. It's sometimes a little tricky to get big slides like that clean. So I'll just play out. Okay, we should be good then. Sounds pretty tight. Yep, we'll tie that up. A little crossfade there with the multi tool. We'll call it the magic multi tool. I like that. There we go. Sweet. All right. Take that out of solo, and then we'll listen through. See that? I think we are good. Although, one minor detail, I wasn't sure about the tuning on that B. Let's have a listen to that. Is that a little dodgy? Could be a little dodgy. Let's fix that. I'm being very particular here. I'm going to just check the note, because, you know, look at that, it is a little sharp right there. Because even though you can set your intonation perfectly, as I was describing earlier, the nature of the tempered scale, the even tempered scale and frets, they are not perfectly subdivided sonically. They are. We have to do it on, well, you've seen those crazy instruments that have all the squiggly frets. Those are the ones that are supposed to have the perfectly intonated notes. Frets are not perfect, which is one reason why I do not advocate people playing a lined fretless bass. Play unlined, because you're once again relying on your ears. These are guides. These frets are guides. And there we discover a little flaw. Look, see, that is actually sharp there. And at this point in the song, it does stick out. So I'm actually going to put the bass out of tune to compensate for that. And just drop in for that one note. Oh, it's being finicky, isn't it? These tuning keys, they've been on here since 1976. When I first got this bass, probably need a little oil. Oh, look at that, it's messing with me. Okay, that's close enough right there. So, we would just punch in that one note. Only because it's so exposed at that point in the song. You know, there'll be probably, if we were to analyze this, there'll probably be other notes that are out of tune, just because of the nature of that dividing of the frets and the scale. There's nothing you can do about it unless you want to go through and analyze and replace every single note, or you can, I suppose, auto-tune it. But the thing is, it's like that on every recorded album. You listen to guitar chords. They're not perfect. It's just the nature of the beast. There's nothing you can do about it. So, in these days of perfect auto-tuning, it's sometimes a curse, I think. But anyway, I'm off into the weeds. Don't get me started on that dialogue, or maybe we want to have that dialogue later. I don't know. We'll see. For now, I'm just going to fix this B. I don't know if I played that very well, but let's have a listen. Perfectly in tune. How about that? You see, even though my string was perfectly in tune, that one note was still out. It's a fascinating phenomenon. Just going to wrap up this punch. Voila! A perfect take. We'll take a food break, a 5-minute break to have some perspective, and then we'll listen down to it. Which is perfect timing because the food's just arrived. So we had a little food break and now we are going to listen down to the track. It's the moment of truth. I'm a big believer on taking breaks and stepping away so you can gain perspective. Because sometimes you can get so involved in a track and you get too close to it. You cannot stand back and have that objectivity. So that being said, let's have a listen to this. And, you know, let's put those vocals back in. Go up. Went up down that bit. Makes it more interesting. I'm going to stop there because everything's fine up until there, but I just want to point something out. It's ever possible that, because the drums come in at that point, what I did was did a little slide in to that. This is something that I was doing as it was going along, so that the drums could actually, the bass could come in with the drums at that. So here we go. That's if we wanted to, we could have the bass be muted up until this point. Just to give them options, you know? And down, up. See how that fill interwove between the vocals right there? I just want to play that again. That little fill there was deliberately listening to the vocals. Kind of. Same. with a nice little fill there. It's the solo there. You can get a little busier. Bring it back. Getting a little busier and more interesting here. Sounds good to me. What will I do now other than save it? I will. Well, at this point, if I was doing this session at home by myself, I would do an MP3 mix, send it off to the artist, the producer, and see if there are any fixes that need to be done. And that's one of the advantages of using this little unit, which I rarely change the settings. Do it all from here. It's like, okay, if I need to go back and revisit that and play any parts again, the sounds and the settings will be pretty much the same. And but if the producer and the artist were here, I would at this point consolidate the whole file just to make it as one. And this is just labeled. If this was me at home, I would label it. The track is called Throw It All Away. It's labeled at this point TF DI1. So I would put it, just call it Throw TF DI1. And the next one would be Throw TF Amp1. And then I would consolidate it, making it all one nice file. And I would also, if you're sending this to somebody remotely, then you would need to make sure that the file start is the same as the rest of the files in the song so that they match up when they import it into their session. Very, very important, because we could send them this as it is, and the starting point is in a different place. So we were going to consolidate it, but I'm also going to make sure that it goes to the beginning point of the session so that we add that little bit of silence there. And why did I change the name of the track? It's so that the file also gets called that. So when these files are sent, they'll know it's like, oh, it's for that track. Because you send a bunch of files and it's all TF Amp1, then you're not going to be able to tell between the two. I love this shortcut. It's Option Shift 3 on a Mac. Processing duplicate, throw TF. There's the file right there. It's a beautiful site. All one nice big clean file. Save it. Done. And see what all the different sections are. And I'm not sure if I'm going to be writing a chart on this one yet. I don't know. Let's check it out. See what's going on.
You stayed up late, are you sleeping alone?
Cool track, cool vibe.
I was there if I could go.
Nice vocals.
I'm blind to you. I can't see where I am. Are you wrapped in your arms? Are you stealing my words? As you go around, losing your heart in your cheek. You're staring straight through me.
Cool.
Into the both of us. You don't have a reason. Before I play, I had a feeling. Let it go, or let it disappear. I know you're the same as someone under you, trying to take your place, trying too hard. As you go around, losing yourself and turning back. A mother's protecting your body and your cheek. You're staring straight through me into the back room. You don't have a reason. Who's in me? Who's on the inside? Couldn't turn around. At the end of your sleep, I couldn't find you. I couldn't reach. I couldn't see. As you go around, losing
Ending
yourself.
chorus and so that's cool. Sometimes I like just hearing all the individual tracks and all the different things, but also sometimes I like to refer to those because that can affect the notes that I choose to play, because sometimes you can hear something like this is very open bass wise, but at the same time, you know, you got to fit in with everything that's going on, and sometimes you can pick up, I like to pick up little bits from the various textures and instruments that are going on, so that so I can choose wisely. I'm not feeling it to make a chart on this. You know, the drum part is static pretty much, but also I want to create, it's got to build obviously all the things that you know what I'm going to do, and this is what I like to do, is to circle, do a loop on a section, and not to record, but just to jam on it to get a vibe, because this one is all about the vibe. This is yeah, just really gotta get the right pattern, the right sound, play it in the right way. And I want to play, I'm tempted to use the pick on this one, the plectrum, as we say in England. But it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to be hammering and digging in like, no, that's not what this is all about. This is about, I'm actually going to turn around the pick and use the, not the pointy bit, but the rounded bit. Do something. It gives it a point and a consistency of note that gives it a little different thing, but it's not really about hitting it too hard. Because it needs a lot of, it still needs a fullness and a low end, I think. Because the pick can, you know, there's some songs that's appropriate for, where you want that drive, more of a high energy kind of rock thing. But this is a vibe that I don't think it's needing that. But what I'm going to do, I've set it up for loop record, but on input. So I'm just going to jam on this intro. I'm going to take out the vocals. They're probably not in on this intro anyway, but just go round and round this. I don't even know the notes properly yet. So if I loop it, then I can learn it. Now, it's very interesting hearing that piano part by itself, because I'm actually going to, I solo the piano, and for me to play along with that, I need to solo the bass. So I do want to play along with that, because there's a couple of different ways. There's one note that I'm hearing in particular where the bass could go one way or the other. See? That one right there. Could go here. Could go there. Or go different ways. Let's see what some of the other instruments are doing at that point to give a little bit of a clarity about what I want to do with that. I'm stuck between the two, honestly. So in this case, what I do, I'm going to go to the verse, because I know that it's a similar chord changes, and I'll put the whole track in there. I'll loop it again, and put in all the instruments and play along and see which feels right there. Okay, I got something soloed, haven't I? That would be me. There we go. Ah, it's a different pattern. Okay, so where does that pattern happen? I just want to, I could go either way on that note. So this is the chorus. Goes to the G there, okay. So with him going to the G, a little bit of music theory again. This is where it does help to know a little bit about that, because G major and E minor are kind of related. Turn that down a little bit. Those are the notes of the G minor chord. Here are the notes of the E minor chord. But it's adding that note, which is actually part of the G structure or scale. But if you add that in, it makes it what's actually known as a G6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that tells me that that note, using the E, would not be appropriate for that part of the intro. But I do like the B, which is part B of the G chord structure. So these are all little details that mean a lot when it comes to choices of notes. So what I'm going to do is go back now to that intro and circle around and play that for a little bit, because I was experimenting at that point. I was like going between doing which is kind of cool. It's kind of a little generic, but sometimes that's what's needed. And so there's a lot of ways I could go with this. Then I was going into which gives it a different kind of pulse, and I'm tempted to just listen to the drums as well, and I can play and jam with them. They give a lot of scope actually, because it's a repetitive kind of train beat pattern, so that's wide open really. I got to solo the bass. I don't know if I'm going to jam with the drums. I've forgotten what that original pattern was, to be honest, but because that B didn't sound so good to me that time. So let's go back. Turn up a little bit, turn up my master so I can just kind of feel it and kind of get into the vibe a little bit more. You know, there's a lot of different ways that this can go, and I'm going to back off the level of the bass a bit because I want to hear more of the track, because sometimes if the bass is too loud, then you play too softly. You've got to find the right levels for the bass so that you can feel it. See, I'm spending a lot of time on the setup of this so that once I get to it, I won't have to be thinking about it, because if something's blowing my vibe, if something's not feeling right or sitting right, then it takes away from the playing and getting into the mood and the vibe. And that's why I'm spending the time to set this up. It's time well spent as far as I'm concerned, just to set the mood. It's like, no, I won't go there, but you know, about setting the right mood for the occasion. The mood is everything. You've got to get into the mood and of the vibe here of the song. So here we go. try fingers. Oh, I like that pick. All right, I actually, in the midst of that, I tried going down to the G, which is what it is in the chorus. It didn't feel right. It felt right going to the B to me. And also, I switched up the pattern a little bit. In the beginning, I was going... And it felt like it needed a little bit more momentum to keep it going. So I added a few more notes to it. And see, I'm playing very, very restrained here. This one is all about the consistency and not having. And as I spoke in the early one, it's about having nothing that's going to distract from the vibe. Now, this to me is all about demonstrated by the drums. It's very hypnotic. It's very repetitive. It draws you in, repetitive in a good way, because you want to be, you got to be under the trance of this. Very spellbinding, I find, which I really like about it. So I'm trying to get into that mood and that flavor. I tried playing the fingerstyle in the middle, and it didn't have the presence that I wanted. I suppose I could have tried it. In fact, I'll do that one more time, try it like that. It's kind of cool, but I'm actually something that's a little bit more driving, and the fingerstyle has a little bit more personality to it, which may sound like something that would be desirable in certain situations. It is, but for this I wanted something. The drums are very hypnotic, so I want to have something that matches. I'm going to just play this one more time, then I'm probably going to go for it. Yeah, I'm feeling that. I'm feeling it. So this is very much a band vibe track, and so I don't mind going over this round this quite a few times, because it's all about getting the right flavor and me feeling like I've been playing with these guys for years. That's what a band is all about. You all pull together and you all tune into each other's groove, feel, vibe, and the song, and everything pulls together. More than, I'd say, I venture to say, more than a solo artist where the focus is solely, what's a solo artist? So it's all on the soloist. The band is a whole different vibe, so I approach this and set myself up for it differently. I'm torn actually right now to whether to do a chart or not, because there is something that is very, now I'm in this vibe, I kind of don't want to keep it, I want to know what's coming up next. But I tell you what, I'm going to start it as I intended. And just because we start something one way doesn't mean to say that we end up doing it that way. You have to try it, and because this vibe stays pretty much the same throughout. So anyway, let's have a go at this. I'm just going to go from this intro right here. Even though I haven't done anything, I'm going to save. I'm going to take it out of loop record, put it into quick punch. I'm going to set myself up with a 2-measure pre-roll. And for some reason I'm not seeing, there we go, let me pull up the transport window, so I've got my pre-roll, put that all up here, and the pre-roll, put 2 bars of that, bing, post-roll, 100 measures, no, I don't need that many. Okay, so I do believe we're good. I can't remember the part now. Isn't it funny how you can play something for a long time and then I just needed to hear the band play it. That's what it was. Once we start, it all comes back to me. Here we go. Let's try this thing. I go one more time on that. What didn't I do? What didn't I do? I didn't tune, did I? Yeah, you see? Even though I'm not using the top string, it still needs to be in tune. Oh, yeah. See, when it goes flat, you definitely need to tune that. That's nothing to do with the room temperature getting cold and making the strings go sharp. It felt like it was in tune, but I don't know. I think it's all these years of playing fretless especially that makes me check my tuning incessantly, because if my tuning's off, then when I'm playing then people will look at me and give me the dirty eye and think it's because of my playing technique on the fretless. But if the bass is out of tune, then there's nothing too much I can do about that. So anyway, I check my tuning incessantly before every take, be it fretted bass, fretless bass, because you don't want to have to redo a take just because it was slightly out of tune on one string. Here we go. See, that was great. I was very happy with that, even though I will go back. Now it's like, oh boy. I think I'm going to have to write a chart. But what I was going to do was find all the sections that have this pattern and then play it. In fact, let's go there. I'm sorry I'm backtracking because these are the thoughts that go through my head when I'm doing this thing, this kind of stuff. It's like, okay, are there sections that repeat? There probably are. I put it back into loop record to try it. Oh, it's different, isn't it? It is actually the same. It just repeats that G pattern there, and I'm gonna do what I originally set out to do. I keep convincing myself to do one thing, and then I convince myself to do another. I get very confused like that sometimes. It's the artistic temperament, but you know, this is how it works. Is it right? Is it wrong? It just is how it is. It has to feel right. I don't care what it takes to get there as long as it feels right. So take it out of loop record again, and I'm gonna go for this chorus. And here's the thing, I may do this whole take from top to bottom this way, and then listen down from the top and think, wow, I should really chart this out, and I'll play it all again. But the good thing is, by then I will have learnt it, so it's not time wasted. Because once again, as I've stated, this is a band vibe and needs to feel like a band that's been doing this for years. So here we go. One more time on that. Wasn't feeling it so much. And notice what I'm doing leading into this as well. I'm setting it like a metronome because I haven't played the part before, but I'm getting into the click and the vibe of it. So here we go. Cool. Let's go on to the next chorus. Which is right here, same deal. You know, if this is a great technique, and it may or may not work for this song, we'll know once I listen down. But if you don't have long to learn a song, if you're under the gun to deliver a quick session, this is the quickest way I've found to deliver it. It's like you circle each section, and some may say, well, it's not cool because you're playing each section separately. There's no flow there. Well, at the end of it all, I make sure and listen down and make sure there is that flow there. But if you are pushed for time, it's like, okay, I have this section, I can play this and nail all of those. Hey, I'm not copying and pasting. Hey. No, I'm not copying and pasting. I guess I'm copying and playing. Whatever. Here we go. Let's play this, shall we? Here we go. Let's go for this next chorus. And we will, as it's building, I am anticipating, building the energy a little bit because the song's getting on a little bit. So even though it's the same part and I want to have the same kind of vibe, I am going to build the energy a little bit. It occurred to me that while I'm recording, nothing has changed on here. All the settings have remained the same. It's the same bass. I haven't changed anything on here, except I'm using it in the P bass position. On the last song I was using it with the blend of the two. And for when I'm using the pick, I actually backed off the volume a little bit. What am I doing with that? I'm making the adjustments with me, with the instruments, with the way that I play. I'm not making any adjustments here, because if you think when you're on stage, when I'm playing a show, if I want to change something, I'm not a big effects guy. I'm not big on effects, so I make the adjustments here. I make the adjustments with using the pick or not. I make the adjustment with how I play, where I play, if I play up here or not. I may adjust the tone, adjust the volume a little bit. But the point is, I'm making the adjustments here. So that the last song we did was very almost 60s, a very full sounding bass. This is more of a vibey, modern rock driven kind of thing. But all the changes have been made from here. Now, where I hit with the pick, the plectrum, will affect it too, and how I. Pretty cool sound up there. I'm hitting more here. If I play up here, changes it again. All those tonal possibilities, and then if I play it fingerstyle, there it changes it again. If I change the pickup, it changes it again. You've got so many variations and tonal colors that you can access just by how you play it, how you attack it, where you play it. And I'm a big fan of that because, you do something with an effect or you change the amp, it doesn't really, if you play everything the same way without changing what you play, then it actually kind of limits you as a player. There's so much that you can do with yourself, with your hands, with the style that you play. Anyway, it just occurred to me as I was doing that between this song and the last song. So let's get back into this. I need to just get back into the vibe of this a little bit. Wasn't recording that time, I was doing it for me to get into the vibe again. Oh, I like that little slide down there, but I got to execute the next bit a little better. playing a little differently, aren't I? See, I don't get everything right on the first take, contrary to popular belief. The same thing again. Well, we got through it, but I'm going to do another take. I think I can do better. Let me pull in a little bit here. Let's go to the chorus at the end. That one, I'm going to keep an open mind about that one, how that one flows with the sections before and afterwards, because there's very, very specific, very clear changes and builds that happen. So that's one of the disadvantages of working this way, with just punching these individual sections first, is that you don't always get the overall big picture flow. So we'll see how that feels once we get there. And we have a chorus coming up at the end. I'm just going to check how it ends. Just on the F there, that's cool. I like those hangy things that don't end on the root. That would have been too happy nice if it was. Ah. No, it ends on that. Yeah, it's cool. That's cool, although I do think I came in a little bit hot on that first chorus because it's actually a down chorus there. So I'm going to go in for the first half of that. I did like how it entered, but it was just a little too strong. So we'll go back and we will get that first bit of that again. Yeah, a little bit more vibey, a little bit more open for that, so that the second half builds. just check that ending there. I like that. And they incorporated that B that was in the intro. So it kind of brings it back to that as well. I always like it when things happen again. See how that sounded by itself, just to make sure that that sounds... That's okay, it'll be smoothed out, but what I might actually do is just pull that back a little bit, because I kind of like what happened. We've got to make sure that we're on the right standard setting there. There we go, and not stretch. That would get ugly. Oh, and I'm not in group mode, so I need to enable that. Yeah, that's cool. So I have all of the choruses now. I'm going to go back to the top of the song, and we got the verse, which is a similar vibe, but there's a little bit of a different pattern going on here. And this happens just twice in the song, doesn't it? Verse 1 and verse 2. So what I'm going to do is go back and loop this so I can play along with it. Kill the pre-roll. Now I'm glad that I'm circling these sections like this, because it's subtle, but there is a variation in the way that I'm approaching this and playing it. It's a little less muted here. So it's ringing. So the cool thing about doing it this way is that you get those verses and the choruses consistent within themselves. Sometimes, you know, until you really get inside a song, it's like you can't always know or play them in a consistent way until you've like been living with them for you know, as a band for months. Sometimes you get into those subtleties. Here's me now, so I'll go through this, hearing the song for the first time and try and make it sound like I've been playing it for months. So doing each verse separately, doing each chorus separately, means that I maintain that same vibe for each one of them. And that to me is valuable. So I got into the vibe of the verse there, and so now I'm going to go and play that. put it back into quick punch, put my pre-roll there. Did I save it? No, I might not have done, but did I tune up? No, I didn't. So let's do that again. You've probably gathered from now that the two most important things, or two of the most important things to me, are tuning and saving. Yep, that'll save you. Here we go. And I want to point out that I'm in input, so that means, I always drop my pick by the way, it means that I'm not listening to the part before, and there's value to that. You have to play it by ear for each track, whatever's appropriate. I like to set up and get into the vibe of the next section, so I'm not distracted by what's going before. Sometimes you do want to hear that because you want to hear how they join together. That's valuable too. So you have to really kind of, you know, go between the two and make sure that they do work together. And it really helps when you play the right part. That felt pretty good to me. What I'm going to do is take it out of input mode and hear how those join together. Listening one more time. Good. I want to do that take again though, and I'm going to leave it not on input so I can hear them flowing into it. Let's hear that. Play it one more time. I'm going to actually dig in a little harder. Actually, not going to dig in, I'm just going to move closer to there. It's a real subtle thing, how I'm hearing it just being a little bit more aggressive. Felt like it was a little too aggressive then, didn't it? So I'll do it somewhere in between. Here we go, one more time. I'm being extra perfectionist actually right now. Missed that little run up there, didn't I? Here we go. Okay, I think that was good. Yeah, I'm liking that. Let's go on to verse 2. Same thing. I mean, you could almost copy and paste here. You really could, but I'm not going to. Missed a little run up. Feeling good about that. Let's try the pre-chorus now. Which I haven't heard yet, so let me... Yeah, that's pretty much the same as the other sections. A little variation. A little build up into the chorus there, so here we go. And pre-roll. Let's check that out. Liking that. Go to the next pre-chorus. Doesn't always feel very romantic doing it this way, but it's effective. All right, I think we're onto something here. Dig in that. All right, the bridge, which I haven't heard or studied properly yet. And then, once this is done, that is the song. We'll loop it. That was the chorus right there. Now, I'm going to listen to what the vocals are doing here because this is a whole new section.
Who's on the inside. I couldn't see, I couldn't turn around. At the end of your sleep, I couldn't find you. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't see. Who's your enemy?
I'm hearing a whole change of vibe here. And I want to find something, some notes. I hear an opportunity here to get a little bit outside because the rest of it is so repetitive and hypnotic and in a groove. This is a great chance to take it out on a little bit of a melodic excursion, if you like. You could almost do the fretless on it, which I'm not going to, but we almost could. I think that would be too much of a distraction. Really important that I play close attention to the vocals. Now, before I was paying more attention to the drums and the rhythmical aspect of it. This is, I mean, it's always about the vocals, but this especially because, you know, it's a whole different vibe. So I'm going to circle around this a few more times.
Who's your enemy? Was on the inside. I couldn't see, I couldn't turn around. At the end of your sleep, I couldn't find you. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't see.
I'm in the ballpark.
Who's your enemy? Was on the inside. I couldn't see, couldn't turn around. At the end of your sleep, I couldn't find you. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't see. Who's your enemy?
All right, I'm kind of digging that. I want to hear what's happening before to make sure that I can make a good transition from both. Okay, that's nice. That kind of just fades off there. And then coming out, let's see how it changes there.
I couldn't see. As you come around,
Yeah, okay. So I think where I was going with that will fit quite nicely. Here's where we find out.
who's your enemy? Was on the inside. I couldn't see, couldn't turn around. At the end of your sleep, I couldn't find you. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't see. As you come.
I like that. There's one bit that I was not, that note.
Who's your enemy? Was on the inside.
Space for the vocal.
I couldn't see, couldn't turn around.
This is the bad note, or tricky. like that. But I know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to fix that note. And actually what I played on the second half will work very nicely. So let me just get that bit. I think I played it a little too aggressively. I'm going to play it one more time. I almost like it want to be there without it being overbearing, so that it's a softer way of playing the same thing. Try it that way. So there's many ways you can play the same thing. Many different ways you can play the same thing. Okay, something like that. Let's have a listen to that. May have been too soft, but kind of liking that. Let me hear it by itself. Yeah, I do. I'm digging that. I'm really digging that. And I was playing that section really, really lightly. It becomes... It's a very full sound. It's like a Jameson sound. It's very, very full and a lot of tone to it. So I love doing that. I think it's a nice contrast in the middle of the song as well. So let me just smooth those out. I'm really digging this middle section actually. It's nice to have something like that after all the rest of it. But the drums keep going to keep it to tie all together, which is pretty cool. So let's just hear that transition right there. That's cool. Let's hear it with the track. Cool. We are going to listen. I haven't smoothed all the points out yet. But we're going to listen from the very top and see how it all flows. It's the moment of truth, isn't it? Doing it this way.
If I was there as you come around, losing yourself and turning back. A mother's put down in tears and you're biting your cheek. You're staring straight through me into the back room, into the both of us, but you don't have a reason.
I'm very happy with that. I do love that middle section, I must say. Takes it to a whole different level, which the bass has a mighty power to be able to do that. Take things to a whole new place, a whole new level. I'm just going to smooth out everything, and what I do quite often when I'm doing that, I will just put the post roll on half a measure, half a bar, so I don't have to listen to too much. Actually put that on solo mode on the bass, take it out, record, save it. Nice clean start there. Got this next. Good. I think I want to go to 1. It's with the tempo being up, I want to take it to 1 measure pre-roll there. Good, nice and clean. It's the way we like it. And did it sound like those were done in separate sections, all those things? No, it didn't, because they had a groove to them. And as you know, I spent a lot of time setting up and getting the feel for each part to make sure that it was right. And it is hard to do that unless you're practicing with a band for a week or months even, ideally. But me coming in, called to do this session, I have to make it sound like I've been doing that with them for, well, in an hour or so. I find this the most efficient way, and it's not using charts, because not everybody likes to use charts, is comfortable using them. So there are different ways. You don't need, even though I absolutely recommend it, because it gives you a lot more scope and a lot more freedom, and you can keep them, and if you need to go back and reference it, because sometimes, you know, you get called in, it's like, oh, you did a great job in the session, we need you to come and play a show with it. Okay, sure. Oh, what was it again? What did I play? I have to relearn and listen to what I played. Who's that player? He did a great job. Oh, yeah, right. Okay. So I keep a lot of charts, actually. So it's yeah, cool. And I always put a little fade on the end, just so it ends nice and cleanly, even though there's nothing playing there. So we are good with this. I'm going to leave that one as it is with the, no, what would I normally do? I would, yeah, go to where all the rest of the files are starting, and I'll consolidate that whole track. And this song is called Staying Up Late. I'll just call this Late TFDI and Late TF Amp, and then we consolidate it, Option Shift 3, and there we have it. just noodling here. I like to do the fifth, because that's the ultimate test of making sure you're in tune. Which I'm not. You see, the thing is with the fretless, you play a fifth down there, the spacing of it is different up here. Because as you get up here, the frets get close together. So you're having to like spread it more there and then closer together as you move up. It's a trip, it really is. But this this bass I've had, it's a 77. I've had it since 1979 is when I got this. It was new. And this is the one that I recorded all the firm stuff on, and it's just an amazing bass. It's a beast to play though. Looks like it's butter, I know, with this nice glossy fingerboard, and we had to put this glossy coating on because the rosewood was getting so thin on it, because we kept having it sheared down because you get the grooves, because I used the round wound strings. So it's become so that, yeah, I don't know if you can even see it, but there's barely any rosewood left on there. It's so thin. You see the other necks from that era, and it's like thick rosewood, but this hardly has any. So we had to put this diamond finish on there, diamond epoxy, whatever it was. My luthier tech said that it would should last you a couple of years. It's almost been 20 years that it's lasted, so it's done pretty well. This was the model that my Fender Fretless signature bass was based on. And for that, because of the fingerboard wearing, we put an ebony fingerboard on there. So it pretty much has the same sound, because this has that hard finish on it, and the ebony is a more durable wood. And so it helps that. I use the round wound string, so yeah, it really tears it up. So anyway, we put up a track which I believe is going to be great for the fretless. It's a piano vocal. I haven't really got into it yet, so I'm going to do that. See what we've got going on here. I know nothing about this track at this point. So let's find out what it's all about. Let's see. Starting point here. I know right away that I want to create a click track for this. So create click track right there. Boom. Because with the piano being exposed like that just by itself, I definitely want to be able to have some count, some kind of click going along with that. It's in tune with the track as well. How about that? The click.
Sitting here alone in a crowded place, my mind is like an ocean filled with empty space. People change, but they don't go far, hoping on the light of a shooting star.
Ooh, nice.
Sitting in the dark of the music hall, listening to the keys rise and fall. Life is hard, but we'll make it through, relying on the strength that I get from you.
Looks like it's pretty much piano vocal all the way through. I'm not seeing any other tracks.
Got you. Oh, there are times when I doubt. There are
Excellent. I am going to write a chart for this one because I want this to be very much a flow. So, what was that? An E flat. I have a feeling this may be a little bit more intricate as far as me knowing which notes are being played, but let's have a go. All right, so let's see how this one goes.
sitting here alone
Verse.
in a crowded place. My mind is like an ocean filled with empty space. People change,
Is it repeated? Let's
but
see.
they don't go far. Hoping on the light of a shooting star.
Yeah. Boom. What's that? Ooh, what's that? Boom, boom. It sounds like an F. Yeah, okay. I like it when I get it right. All right, go back to that. Pre. A flat.
Sitting in the dark
So it's another verse right there.
of the music hall, listening to the keys rise and fall. Life is hard, but we'll make it through, relying on the strength that I get from you.
Same thing, okay.
There are times when I doubt.
Okay. That is marked as a verse right there. But it isn't a verse, is it? It's going into a chorus. So I'm going to mark that. A little differently. Chorus. 1. So I've made a repeat there because that whole little that little thing where it goes to the F and then the verses are all repeated. So I just made a big repeat of that so it doesn't take up too much writing space.
There are times when I
A C minor? Yeah, okay, cool.
There are times when I doubt. There are times when I wonder if I'm good enough, and I feel like giving up. But when I'm on my way down, you always come around to lift me up. Ooh, you pick me up.
It'll be in there.
Oh, you pick me up. Sitting on the floor.
Okay. So there was a little passing note in there which I put on the chart. B natural. I wanted to catch that. I'll go back and play that. Okay, right there. Otherwise the sequence stays the same.
Oh, you pick me up. Sitting on the floor
Did I miss it? I must have missed it. Oh.
of the studio to lift me up. Ooh, you pick me up.
A little B in there, yeah.
Oh, you pick me up.
Just going back.
Sitting on the floor of the studio.
Okay, I noticed that we have a marker here, another marker. verse. I'm gonna change that.
Of the studio, dancing hand in hand with the highs and lows. This love has grown in me, flowing through my bones like a melody. We can make it, baby. We can make it through. You've got me and I've got you. Oh, that.
Okay, so where did the pencil disappear to? There it is. We went back there, and I'm going to do my famous Dal signal back to the sign, which is right there. But this little pre-chorus repeats. Huh. And this is not grammatically or theoretically correct. But who cares, because only I have to read it. So that repeats on the pre-chorus. On the sign, the Dal signal. And we're coming up to another chorus. It's basically me not wishing to write out any more than I need to, keeping it as efficient as possible.
There are times when I doubt. There are times when I wonder if I'm good enough, and I feel like giving up. But when I'm on my way down, you always come around to lift me up. Ooh, you pick me up. Oh, you pick me up. There are times when I doubt. There are times when I wonder if I'm good enough.
No, it didn't resolve. I was expecting a resolve there. I would have kind of liked to resolve on that one. But that's okay. I'm here to play bass, not to change the arrangement. Okay, I noticed that that little B natural thing was not there on the repeat there, on the sign. So there was one right there though. So not on the sign. We have a quick chart. That's a very quick chart there. Let's play some bass, shall we? This one is very much going to be a flow. You know, there's not like, it's not a groove thing. It's very much, it's almost like there's another voice that's here to accompany the vocal. The bass, I mean, you know, I don't know what else is going to go on the track. There may be other things, there may be some other moody stuff, there may be some rhythmical stuff, so I have to bear that in mind. But at this point, as I approach the track, there are literally two solo instruments. Not that the piano isn't, but that's more the accompanying and playing the chord thing. But at this point, so I don't want to overdo it, but at the same time, I may do a couple of takes on this. We'll see how it goes. One that's just going to hold it down, and then one that will be a little bit more melodic and exploratory. Yeah, that's a good word to use, isn't it, on a recording session? Okay, nicely in tune. What do we need? Let's have a look at this thing. Just need to put it in from the start, and I'm tempted to not enter right at the start as well, but let's just see how it flows. You know, you can't think about it too much, you just got to play it. Put that click in, just to give me those bits where the, and I'm going to back it right down as well, because I don't want it to get in the way. I don't want to be so rigid that I'm locked into that click. All right, let's have a go here, shall we?
ocean filled with empty space. People change, but they don't go far. Hoping on the light of a shooting star. Sitting in the dark of the music hall, listening to the keys rise and fall. Life is hard, but we'll make it through, relying on the strength that I get from you. There are times when I doubt, there are times when I wonder if I'm good enough, and I feel like giving up, but when I'm on my way down, you always come around to lift me up. Ooh, you pick me up. Oh, you pick me up. Sitting on the floor of the studio, dancing hand in hand with the highs and lows. This love has grown in me, flowing through my bones like a melody. We can make it, baby. We can make it through. You've got me and I've got you. Oh, there are times when I doubt. There are times when I wonder if I'm good enough, and I feel like giving up, but when I'm on my way down, you always come around to lift me up. Ooh, you pick me up. Oh, you pick me up. There are times when I doubt. There are times when I wonder if I'm good enough.
Fretless is a beautiful thing, isn't it? Yeah, I love it because you can do so much with so little. You just got those open notes, but it's so expressive. Ah, whoa. Very nice. Let me save that. And I know there's a couple of little fixes I would want to do in there. I'm also seeing a little bit of hotness, not of the good kind, on that track. Some of the levels are a little bit hot, but you know, what can you do? Sounds okay. I'm not going to stress too much about it because it sounds good. Where was there a little something? There was a little something, I think it was coming into maybe that last chorus. That was a little off. Let me group these. TF bass, that everything's... Why are those not? It is. Oh well, it's active. Not to worry. Anyway, let's listen with the track.
You've got me and I've got you. Oh, there are times when...
Right there, that little push bit into there. So, that last chorus right there. It's just a little on top, isn't it? Is that nudgeable? Well, let's see, shall we? It might leave a little bit of an open, too much of an open gap. I don't know at this point, but let's see. Because it all flows so nicely. So if I can fix it with it being...
We can make it through. You've got me and I've got you. Oh, there are times when
I can live with that. Let's solo it. Yeah, that's fine. It's more than fine. All right, so I guess we'll listen down from the top on this. I seem to remember there being one other thing, but I don't know what it was at this point. So we'll not lose sleep over it. We'll take that.
sitting here alone.
Beautiful voice.
In a crowded place. My mind is like an ocean filled with empty space. People change, but they don't go far. Hoping on the light of a shooting star. Sitting in the dark.
So I started high. Now the next verse came in. A little fuller with the low notes.
Rise and fall. Life is hard, but we'll make it through. Relying on the strength that I get from you. Times when I doubt, there are times when I wonder if I'm good enough, and I feel like
There's a little pulse going there. Boom,
when I'm
boom,
on my way down,
boom,
you
boom.
always
Subtle from the verses. Difference, but it gives that a little bit of movement.
you pick me up. Oh, you pick me up. Sitting on the floor of the studio, dancing hand in hand with the highs and lows.
More high up there.
This love has grown in
Went up
me,
high there too.
flowing through my bones like a melody. We can make it, baby.
Little
We
movement.
can make it through. You've got me and I've got you. Oh, there are times when I doubt. There are times when I wonder if I'm good enough, and I feel like giving up. But when I'm on my way down, you always come around.
Getting a little bit more movement going here as the song is building.
You pick me up. Oh, you pick me
I almost hesitated and didn't want to play on the end there. It's like it's start off with just the voice by itself, and then I was tempted to leave it, and there's a little timing thing I'm not thrilled about there. Sometimes it's different when you hear the click out. Let's hear that bit.
Oh, you pick me up. There are times when I doubt. There are times when I wonder if I'm good enough.
It doesn't bother me so much that time. It wasn't... at this point, especially if there's going to be more added to it, it's whoever's going to have this session next. It's all within nudgeable distance. So I'm not going to big open notes like that. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm happy with this take, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do a complete new take, and just go for it a little bit more. Some fills and probably overplay, which I don't like to do, but sometimes it's good to go for it so you can pick out a few nuggets and a few lines, because I'm trying to anticipate wherever this track may go to. So I've just made a new playlist right there. I always like to make sure, yep, the old one's still there. I always like to do that just to be sure that it didn't go away, and I'm going to save it all. So here we go. Let's record another track from the top, put that click back in, and we're good to go.
Sitting here alone in a crowded place. My mind is like an ocean filled with empty space. People change, but they don't go far. Hoping on the light of a shooting star. Sitting in the dark of the music hall, listening to the keys rise and fall. Life is hard, but we'll make it through, relying on the strength that I get from you. Doubt. There are times when I wonder if I'm good enough, and I feel like giving up, but when I'm on my way down, you always come around to lift me up. Ooh, you pick me up. Oh, you pick me up. Sitting on the floor of the studio, dancing hand in hand with the highs and lows. This love has grown in me, flowing through my bones like a melody. We can make it, baby. We can make it through. You've got me and I've got you. Oh, there are times when I doubt. There are times when I wonder if I'm good enough, and I feel like giving up, but when I'm on my way down, you always come around to lift me up. Ooh,
Make sure we save that one, hey? Whew, I got a little sweat going on during that one. That was fun. That was fun. It's nice to stretch out and, you know, I really don't want to mess with that. There's a few bits where it's like, okay, that could be good, but I truly feel in my gut that that was probably way too over the top. This is where I sometimes lose perspective, and you need, but I rest assured knowing that it's going to be going to somebody else's hands after this. It's going to a producer's, it's going to the artists. They're going to hear all that and be like, yeah, that's cool. Oh, that's too much. Oh, we need more there. I'm also tempted to do one more take. Why not? Hey, we're having so much fun. I'm going to do one more take, and then there's absolutely plenty to choose from. All right, you just go for it. And by now I'm starting to learn the song as well, which is always cool, because you can get away from the chart and just play. So let's see what happens this time. And one of the reasons I like doing another one is because, to be perfectly honest, if there were little mistakes in that last one, you give them so much that they're like, oh yeah, we can choose something from that take. So you covered. You're absolutely covered. So here we go. This will be the last take, because I know that we'll have everything from here.
Sitting here alone in a crowded place. My mind is like an ocean filled with empty space. People change, but they don't go far. Hoping on the light of a shooting star. Sitting in the dark of the music hall, listening to the keys rise and fall. Life is hard, but we'll make it through, relying on the strength that I get from you. There are times when I wonder if I'm good enough, and I feel like giving up, but when I'm on my way down, you always come around to lift me up. Ooh, you pick me up. Oh, you pick me up. Sitting on the floor of the studio, dancing hand in hand with the highs and lows. This love has grown in me, flowing through my bones like a melody. We can make it, baby. We can make it through. You've got me and I've got you. Oh, there are times when I doubt. There are times when I wonder if I'm good enough, and I feel like giving up, but when I'm on my way down, you always come around to lift me up. When I doubt, there are times when I wonder if I'm good enough.
I liked all that, and there was one bit that I was trying to execute at the end, which I almost did. It happened in my mind, but not on my fingers, so it's just listen to that bit.
Oh, you pick me up.
Do-do-do-do-do-do. That's what I wanted to do, so I'm going to fix that a little bit. It was almost there. Make sure that's everything that... Do-do-do-do-do. It's a little bit more, isn't it, than that?
You pick me up. Oh, you pick me.
What I wanted to do, which almost happened. Oh, that's because I need to do a post roll on that. Where's my, see, that's what I got to do. I got to make sure that I set up the post roll. I had the pre-roll, but not the post roll. So I got to do that take again to make sure that I get the what's afterwards. A little out of tune. Let's go one more time.
You pick me up. Oh, you pick me up.
That sounded like that was what I wanted to do.
You pick me up. Oh, you pick me up.
Except this little bit here is a little rushed going in. This fill right here. I'm going to nudge that. See, I'm not afraid to nudge. It's a beautiful thing when the take and the feel is good. We just pull it back a little bit. Let's see how that sounds now. Let's hear it soloed. Just got to fix those. Those are from the second punch, but the first nudge was good. And I'm quite happy. So there we have it. I feel good about those, knowing that everything is there with all its perfect imperfections. Everything is covered. The first one was very, very basic. Second one was a little bit more busy. The third one kind of found the middle ground. And so wherever this one wants to go, there are options. And I'm going to leave it at that. With this one, when you have those playlists like that, I'm not going to consolidate them. I'm going to leave them as are. Everything is kind of self-explanatory. I think we are good on this. Let me think if there are any other points to think of. I think we've covered it mostly along the way. I'm trying to think if there's any fretless specific questions or thoughts that need to be expressed. I don't know, I've covered quite a bit. I'm thinking like this is feeling pretty complete to me. This has been a blast. So I look forward to hearing feedback on this and hearing your takes on it and you going for it. And and using whatever I've done on this as a template, as a starting point. This is not the ending point. This is how I do it. Everybody does it in a different way. You can have 10 bass players come and play on this track and they will play it 10 different ways. And all of them will have something that is magical and interesting and perfect. So it's about you finding what's magical and perfect and right for you to express. And that is something that doesn't necessarily come from the fingers or from the instrument. They're just the way of expressing what's inside of you. And so, you know, everything that you do becomes a part of what translates to here, how you listen to music. And I remember doing a gig recently. No, it was a couple of years ago, but that's not the point. The point is I was having a bad night. I wasn't playing badly. Everything was right, but I was like stuck inside my head. You know, sometimes when you're in that space and you can't get beyond that, and you're just struggling to enjoy the moment and be in the moment and to feel like you're part of the music and the band. And so I changed my perspective. Instead of thinking of my world, my parts, my presence, whatever it is, I started to focus on, first of all, on the drums, on the drummer. I was digging his vibe, you know. Of course, I'm still playing, so I can't like just stop and watch him. That wouldn't be good. So I kept my thing going, but I focused on him, and it's like, oh, cool. Oh, that was a nice little fill. That's a really cool groove right there. And then I did that for a little while, and then I switched it and focused on the guitar player. And this was the Kenny Wayne Shepherd. So, I mean, the great players. You got Chris Slade back there on the drums. And so I was just digging what they were doing. I was digging Kenny, who's a great rhythm player as well, as he's known for his leads, but he's a great rhythm player. So I was just taking it all in and digging it and enjoying it. And it's like, wow, that's a really cool thing. And sometimes you notice things that you don't, when you do that, you notice things that you don't notice before. And so I was noticing all these things, and that was cool. And then it went from there, and I started listening to the keyboard player and the vocals and everything. And before I knew it, of course, I was out of my head. I was listening to everything that was going on around me. And then I started enjoying the show. I was playing better because I was like focusing on the big picture. We can sometimes get stuck in our own little role, our own parts. Got this lick coming up next. Oh, must make sure I nail that. Nobody else in the world will probably notice if you do or don't. It's as simple as that. So what's more important is how you're making everybody else sound and groove. It doesn't matter how we feel about it. It's how they feel about it, how the audience feels about it, and the rest of the band. If they, especially for the bass, it's our place to make them feel good. And if we're doing that, then we've done our job. And sometimes, you know, you can have the worst gig, think you've had the worst gig. Why is it that you think you've had a great gig and then nobody says anything, right? And you think you've had the worst gig ever and everybody comes up and compliments you, man, that was great. And I never say anything contrary to that, because if they had a great experience, then my job is done, regardless of what an experience I had. If they had a great time, job done. And so it's the same with every situation, with every session, with every recording. Get out of your own little thing, listen to everything else that's going on, and then express from there. That's when you'll do magic. So there's the closing thoughts for today's sermon, and we'll say farewell.